नमो अरिहन्ताणं नमो सिद्धाणं नमो आयर्याणं नमो उवज्जायाणं नमो लोये सवसानमो अरिहन्ताणं नमो सिद्धाणं नमो आयर्याणं नमो
Jai Chinendra ji, I'm not able to hear your voice.
Sorry, it was on mute.
Okay.
So,
thank you, ji.
yeah. So we were studying the prayer written by Pandit Daulat Ramji. There were total 18 verses, out of which 15 we have completed. So we'll be completing the last 3 verses of that prayer, and then we will move on to the chapter 2, Soul and the Supreme Soul. So yesterday we had left at 15, so now we'll be reading from verse 16. Sasi Shanti Karan Tapahara Nahet Swayameva Tatha Tum Kushal Det Pivat Piyus Jo Rog Jai Tyon Tum Anubhavate Bhavanashai. Just as moon by its nature gives comfort. So sun creates heat, but the moon is famous. It gives comfort. It cools down the atmosphere. Just as moon by its nature gives comfort, easing heat. So it reduces heat. Your prayer brings joy and happiness. So the prayer has been compared to the moon. So as moon gives comfort, cools down the atmosphere, similarly, your prayer, oh Lord, your prayer brings happiness and joy to all the worshippers. By experiencing your state of bliss, disease of this worldly existence disappears, just as it is destroyed by taking nectar. So when a nectar is consumed, whatever kinds of diseases you have, it all gets cured. And similarly, by experiencing your eternal bliss, the eternal bliss that you are experiencing, similarly, if we also experience our eternal bliss, then our worldly existence also disappears. So then we don't have to take again birth in a new body, right? We'll get liberated. 17th one. त्रिभुवन तिहु काल मंजार कोई, नहीं तुम बिन निच सुखदाय होय। मो उर यह निश्चय भयो आज, दुख जलधि उतारन तुम जहाज। Jaladi is ocean. Tribhuvan Tihukal Manjar Koi. So Tribhuvan is 3 worlds and Tihukal is 3 circles of time: past, present, and future. Throughout the 3 worlds and the 3 circles of time, there is no benefactor like you. Benefactor means Sukhdayak, right? So we have already read in Balbodh about the Manglacharan, Char Chattari Mangalam part and the Namokar Mantra part. There in the Chattari Mangalam part, we had studied about Mangal, and Mangal is benefactor, the one which removes miseries and brings happiness. So that is what benefactor does. So throughout these 3 worlds and the 3 circles of time, there is no benefactor like you. I have finally realized that you are the only ship which can carry beings experiencing all sorts of troubles and turmoils of this worldly existence to the happy shores of infinity. So the worshipper now realizes that if I want to get out of this worldly existence, then I have to take shelter in the Lord. That means I have to take shelter in my own soul. Then externally, the Lord will be the instrumental cause. So this Lord has the ability and capacity to end all my miseries and agonies and take me to the happy shores of infinity. So such a powerful prayer that just by going through it or chanting it or memorizing him, you get such pure sentiments. And gradually, you keep on increasing your purityness, and the impuritiness automatically get reduced. And one time it will come when all the impurities has been destroyed and all the purities has been manifested. Last one. Tum gun gana mani ganapati, ganatana pavahi par, tol swalpa mati kim kahe, namo triyoga sambhar. So this was doha, so it has to be sung in a different tone. Tum gun gan mani, guno rupi maniyo. Ganpati is Gandhar Dev. Ganat na pavi par. Par is not capable. Dol swa alpamati kim kahe. I am being a very ignorant soul. How can I relate this? Namu Triyok Sambar, I bow to you, therefore, with all my mind, speech, and body, again and again. The gems of your attributes cannot be counted, even by the great perceptor. So, among all the monks, Gandhar is regarded as the leader. So the infinite attributes that a soul has, it cannot be counted even by the great perceptor or the Gandhar. Then how, being an ignorant soul, then how can I, Daulat Ram? He is so modest, he is himself considering himself an ignorant soul. In spite of having so much of knowledge and wisdom, he himself is considering himself to be an ignorant soul. So this is the kind of humbleness or the humility that he possessed. How can I, Daulat Ram, being quite ignorant, Alpamati, recite their glories? So the kind of infinite attributes that a soul has, and in this context that the Arihant Paramatma has, or the Sikh Paramatmas has, that cannot be explained by speech and by even Gandhar also, then how I, being an ignorant soul, can explain those attributes or even tell the names of those infinite attributes? It cannot be done. So that's why I bow to you with all my mind, speech, and body again and again. So this prayer is coming to an end, and it was a very good prayer. There were so many good good appreciation about the qualities of the God, and subsequently the worshipper relates his problems, and then the Lord gives him the solution. So in one prayer, that ignorant mundane soul has traversed this journey, put in efforts, and he becomes a God himself. So the journey is from beginning to end. Everything has come in this prayer. And in previous time, there used to be habit among the mumukshus to recite this kind of prayers every day. And while reciting every day, they used to remember it, and they can recall anytime. And it is helpful, especially when we are bedridden and there is nobody to help us. Now, if we are admitted into a ICU, nobody is allowed to visit only. So then if you have by hearted this kind of prayers, you can recite at that point of time. And since you know the meanings also, then you can very closely relate those teachings, preachings, and concept, and you can be happy in those times also. So it is always good to by heart these kind of prayers. And during the childhood days, your memory is also very good. And so the students, the teacher asks the student to memorize all these prayers, and then he checks that they have memorized it or not. And if anyone falters, then he tells them to memorize again. And this way, the children get used to this kind of prayers, and they can easily remember it also. But if we try right now, then we will not be able so easily to memorize it, but we have to put in more efforts, but it can be done also. So it is always good to memorize few prayers and few important gathas of Granth. So all this comes in handy when you are bedridden, you have nothing to read, and then your mind gets into those uh, diseases that you are suffering from. So if you start reciting this kind of prayers or the gathas, then your attention automatically gets diverted from your body to the teachings and the principles being explained in these kind of prayers. So we move on to the next chapter, Soul and the Supreme Soul. So first I would ask Subhaji to read, and then Rajeshri.
Okay. Yes, Ji. Lesson 2, Soul and the Supreme Soul. Much is not known about Yogindu, the spiritual poet of Abramsh, Abramsha. He has been remembered by different names. Example, Yogindu, Yogindra. The Sanskrit translation, Yogindu of Abramsha, Joindu, and not Yogindra, appears to be correct. There are different opinions about this time also. His time is recorded as from the 16th to 11th century. The effect of Kun is apparent on his writings. Yogindu has taken much from Kun. Samadhi Shatak of Pujapad and Paramatma Prakash of Yogindu have close similarity of ideas. His works, Paramatma Prakash and Yogsar, are imperishable stories of his glory. In these works, he has described the deep mysteries of the soul in simple and natural language of the common folk. His lessons has been prepared on the basis of these works of the great poet. Should I continue, sir?
Let's summarize this. So Yogindu Muniraj was a monk in his time is not exactly known, but it is somewhere between the 6th and the 11th century. So why so much of gap? Because some of the authors or acharyas only have mentioned that he was there in India in 6th century, and some of have related to it by saying that he was there in the 11th century. So there is a difference of opinion about his time, but whatever it is still, even if it is 11th century, it is around 1000 years ago. So he was basically a spiritual poet, great poet of Upper Bransha. Upper Bransha was the dialect at those point of time, and this was the language that was locally spoken about. So in different texts, he has been remembered by different names. Example, Yogindu, Yogindra. The Sanskrit translation of Yogindu of upper branch Joindu and not Yogindra appears to be correct. So after analyzing all the names that have been said about this great poet, the writer comes to a conclusion that Yogindu appears to be corrected. So we mention it as Yogindu Dev by respect. The effect of Kund is apparent on his writing because he was the chief uh, student, chief disciple of Sri Kund Acharya, and that is also reflected in his writing also. He has followed the same pattern, same style of writing as his Guru Kund Acharya had done. Yogindu has taken much from Kund. Samadhi Shatak of Pujyapad Swami. So Samadhi Shatak is a commentary on Tatvad Sutra and it is written by Pujyapad Swami. So there are very big commentaries on Tatvad Sutra that are written by different acharyas, very ancient, all those, I think in the 1st or 2nd century, yeah. So Uma Swami was here in, not Umas, yeah, Uma Swami was here in end of 1st century and the beginning of the 2nd century. And after that, there are around 100 commentaries written on this Tatvat Sutra. It was such a famous and popular script. So Samadhi Shatak of Pujyapad Swami. So Pujyapad Swami has also written a very big commentary. And this Samadhi Shatak is also written by Acharya Pujyapad Swami and Parmatam Prakash. So this Parmatam Prakash is again written by Yogindu Dev, and they both have similarities of ideas and content. So Yogindu Dev's main creations are Parmatam Prakash and Yogsar. And these two works are the only available scripts which are written by Yogindu Dev. In these works, he has described the deep mysteries of the soul in simple and natural language of the common folk. This lesson has been prepared on the basis of these works of the great poet. So this lesson has been prepared on the basis of Parmatam Prakash and Yogshar written by Yogindu Dev. So our acharyas never used to mention anything about their personal life. So we never know what was his personal life was like. So they just want to show their works only, and by way of works only they want to just introduce themselves. That's all. They never relate anything about their personal life, that they were such and such prince or they had this family and his son or daughter, he had so much of son and daughter, nothing about a personal life. And so it is very ancient, in the 6th century, 7th century already. So it was not preserved. Even if it was written there, it was not preserved, and so we never know about anything about the acharyas, about their personal life. Even Kund Acharya, we know very little about his personal life. So this is a article or a conversation between a guru and his disciple, Prabhakar is the disciple and Yogi Dev is Guru. Rajeshri ji, can you read through?
Sir, I've got the Hindi version only. I can read it in Hindi. I don't have the English version. It'll be difficult for other people.
Okay.
And if you want, I can read the Hindi.
Okay. And Jinal ji, you have it?
I won't be able to read today, sir.
Okay. Okay, then you read the Hindi one, and then of course I will translate
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Prabhakar, hey Gurudev. आत्मा और परमात्मा का स्वरूप क्या है? कृपा कर समझाइए, क्योंकि कल आपने कहा था कि यह आत्मा अपने स्वरूप को भूल करके दुखी ही हो रहा है। योगिंदु देव, हे प्रभाकर भट्ट, आत्मा को समझने की इच्छा तुम जैसे मुमुक्ष के ही होती है। जिसने चेतन स्वरूप आत्मा की बात प्रसन्न चित्त से सुनी, वह अल्पकाल में ही परमात्मा पद को प्राप्त करेगा। आत्मज्ञान के समान दूसरा कोई सार नहीं है। ज्ञान स्वभावी जीव तत्व को ही आत्मा कहता है। वह अस्तित्व की अपेक्षा 3 प्रकार का होता है। बहिरात्मा, अंतरात्मा और परमात्मा। प्रभाकर, बहिरात्मा किसे कहते हैं? योगिंदु देव, शरीर को आत्मा तथा अन्य पदार्थों और रागोदी में अपनापन मानने वाला यह शरीर और आत्मा एक को ही मानने वाला जीव ही बहिरात्मा है। वह अज्ञानी मिथ्याति दिष्ट है। Shall I continue?
Yeah.
आत्मा को छोड़कर अन्य बाह्य पदार्थों में आत्मापन, अपनापन मानने के कारण यह भारी आत्मा कहलाता है। अनादिकाल से यह आत्मा शरीर की उत्पत्ति में ही अपनी उत्पत्ति और शरीर के नाश में ही अपना नाश तथा शरीर के संबंध रखने वालों को अपना मानता आ रहा है। जबकि यह भूल न निकले तब तक यह जीव भारी आत्मा अतथ्य मिथ्यात्व दृष्टि रहता है। प्रभाकर, भारी आत्मा छोड़ना चाहिए, यह तो ठीक है। योगेंद्र देव, भारी आत्मा छोड़कर अंतरात्मा बनना चाहिए। जो व्यक्ति भेद विज्ञान के बल से आत्मा को देहादिक से भिन्न ज्ञान और आनंद स्वभावी जानता है, मानता है और अनुभव करता है, वह ज्ञानी सम्यक दृष्टि आत्मा ही अंतर आत्मा है। आत्मा ही आत्मापन अर्थात अपनापन मानने के कारण तथा आत्मा के अंतरिक अन्य किसी को भी अपनापन की मान्यता छोड़ देने के कारण ही वह अंतरात्मा कहलाता है। अंतरात्मा के 3 प्रकार हैं। It will become too long, sir, for you to explain, or is it okay?
It is okay, because anyways I will explain in English.
Okay. अनंत उत्तम आत्मा, उत्तम अंतरात्मा, मध्यम अंतरात्मा और जगन्य अंतरात्मा, अंतरंग और बाहिंद्र रंग दोनों प्रकार के परिग्रह से ही रहित उत्कृष्ट शुद्धोपयोगी शिपान कृष्ण मुनि 12वें गुण स्थानक वर्ती उत्तम अंतरात्मा है। अविरति सम्यक दृष्टि 4थे गुण स्थानक वर्ती जगन्य आत्मा है। उत्कुट दोनों की मध्य दिशावर्ती देशावर्ती श्रावक और मुनिराज 5वें से 11 गुण स्थानक मध्य अंतरात्मा है। अंतरात्मा बनने से प्रभाकर, अंतरात्मा बनने से लाभ क्या है? योगिंदु देव, यह अंतरात्मा गुण स्थानक त्याग कर शुद्धोपयोग रूप मुनि अवस्था धारण कर निज स्वभाव साधन द्वारा परमात्मा पद प्राप्त करता है, अर्थात परमात्मा बन जाना और इसकी अनंत दर्शन, अनंत ज्ञान, अनंत सुख और अनंत वीर्य प्रकट हो जाता है। तत्पार्थ यह है कि अंतरात्मा अपने पुरुषार्थ द्वारा आगे बढ़ने का परमात्मा बनता है। प्रभाकर, परमात्मा बनने से क्या लाभ है? योगिंदु देव, प्रत्येक आत्मा सुखी होना चाहता है। परमात्मा पूर्ण निराकार होने से अनंत सुखी है। परमात्मा दो प्रकार के होते हैं, सकल परमात्मा और निकल परमात्मा। चार घातियों कर्मों का अभाव करने वाले श्री अरिहंत भगवान को शरीर सहित होने से सकल परमात्मा कहते हैं, और कर्मों से रहित सिद्ध भगवानों के शरीर रहित होने से निकले परमात्मा कहलाते हैं। बाहिरात्मा संसार मार्गी होने से बाहिरात्मा पन स्वर्त हेयु है। अंतरात्मा मुक्ति मार्ग का प्रतीक है, अर्थात अंतरात्मापन कदाचित उपादाय है तथा परमात्मापन अतिनिंद्र सुखमय होने में सर्वत्र उपादेय है। अंत सबको पुरुषार्थ पूर्वक बाहिर आत्मा छोड़ करके अंतर आत्मा बन करके परमात्मा बनने की भावना करनी चाहिए।
So परमात्मा बनने की भावना. So that is what everyone is trying to achieve, the supreme godhood. So every mumukshu has this aim with himself. Oh, my spiritual perceptor, spiritual guru, please explain me the nature of the soul and the supreme soul. So when we say soul, it's a ordinary soul, mundane soul. And when we say supreme soul, that means Paramatma. So Atma and Paramatma. This is what the Hindi heading is all about. Atma or Paramatma. So here it is written as soul and the supreme soul. You told us yesterday that the soul is unhappy, having forgotten itself. Yogindu Dev, O Prabhakar Bhatt, disciples like you alone have the craving to know the secrets of the soul. So, even in those days, it's quite olden days, in the 6th century to maybe 11th century. But the craving to know the nature of the soul, very few people has. So the Guru is telling the disciples like you alone. So among the disciples, only some disciples were interested into knowing the nature of the soul and then experiencing the soul. Those who hear about the nature of this sentient soul with joy, right? So those who listen to the discourses with joy, they are very, what we can say, they are those special souls who are going to attain liberation in a very short time. So once who listens to a sermon with joy, he is definitely going to get liberated in a short time. So if you feel, if you are interested in understanding this concept and you are listening with utmost care and attention, then it shows that you are also going to get liberated in short time. Short times, maybe 3-4 births, more 3-4 births, and then you become a monk, and then you get liberated from that life itself. There is no other reality than the knowledge of the self. So ज्ञान स्वभावी जीव तत्व को ही आत्मा कहते हैं. There is no other reality than the knowledge of the self. So knowledge of the self is Gyan Savavi Jeev, and this is only the soul. The sentient living substance is the soul. So living is LIV, not LEAV. The sentient living soul, the sentient living substance is called the soul. From the point of view of different manifestations or the state of existence, it is of three kinds. So soul is of not three kind, but its existence or its manifestation are of three kinds: extrovert, introvert, and supreme soul. As we have in Hindi, or for that matter any language, a word is having different meaning in different context. So by extrovert, generally we mean a person who is ready to mingle with anybody, and who is ready to talk also, who can start a conversation, who likes to talk with other people, is an extrovert. But here by extrovert they mean Bahiratma. So the one who is with a wrong belief is called Bahiratma, or we can call it external soul, Bahiratma, external soul. Then we have an introvert. Introvert, generally speaking, is somebody who does not speak very much. He's a very shy kind of guy. He speaks only what is required. And so this is what we mean by an introvert in the common language that we speak. But here introvert means Antaratma. Antaratma means soul who has realized himself is a Antaratma, or the introvert. So soul are of not three types, but its manifestation or its state of existence are of three types. So first one is extrovert, or the Bahiratma, or the external soul, we can say. The second one is introvert, or the Antaratma, or the self-realized soul. And the third one is supreme soul, or the Paramatma. So these are the three stages, and soul initially is found in a Bahiratma stage, or the external extrovert stage, we can say. And from that extrovert, he trains his knowledge with all the correct facts, and then he becomes an introvert, or the Antaratma. And from after becoming Antaratma, he aims to become a supreme soul, or a Paramatma. That is the ultimate target, ultimate aim of each and every mundane soul. So this story insists in us a belief that a mundane soul, in whatever stage he may be, if he wishes to become a supreme soul, he will become a supreme soul. So we should also think on those lines, and we should also aim for becoming a supreme soul. But having said that, all three are these stages or states of a particular soul. who is an extrovert? One regarding one's body as one's soul. That means he believes that his body is his soul, and accepting other objects and attachments as one's own. So the other objects and attachments means rag. So this extrovert consider all these as one's own. So this extrovert soul believes that body is his, the other objects are his, these attachments is his. So he is an ignorant and he is devoid of the consciousness of the soul, or he is devoid of the blissful state. He's not experiencing the blissful state of his. Because he regards other objects as one with his soul, he is called an extrovert. So शरीर और आत्मा को एक मानने वाला बहिरात्मा है, and not only शरीर but शरीर के साथ रहने वाले संयोग, right? जैसे कि स्त्री पुत्र मकान दुकान, and of course the karmas, the bhav karmas, and the body itself. So this soul believes that these are all easy. He is a doer of those things. He is a bhokta, means experiencing. Yeah, he is experiencing of all those material. So this is an extrovert soul who doesn't have the correct belief. He is an ignorant soul, and he is ajnani, ignorant. Because he regards other objects as one with his soul, he is called an extrovert. So he considers his soul and the external objects as one. Since infinity, this being has been regarding the birth of the body as the birth of the soul. So from beginningless time, infinity, this soul believes that the birth of the body is birth of the soul, and the death of the body is the death of the soul. But in reality, soul never takes birth, or it never dies. It never dies. So since time immortal, this soul is regarding birth of the body as his own birth and death of the body as his own death. Those related to his body are regarded as his own. So those related to his body are his wife, his children, his parents, his servants, all those he regards as them his own. As long as this mistake continues, or this wrong belief continues, that being is called an extrovert, or a being with wrong faith. So extrovert is the soul having a wrong faith. We would discard the state of an extrovert. This is all right. So the disciple says, so we will discard. Discard means we will leave this extrovert state. Then his guru Yogindu Dev says one should become an introvert. So discarding the state of extrovert, one should become an introvert. Why? Who is an introvert? One who accepts and experiences the soul, right, as distinct from body. So there are two things. One is the soul and one is the body. So the introvert believes that the body and soul are one. They are only one identity. But the introvert believes that both are different. Body is different from the soul and the soul is different from the body. And one who accepts and experiences the soul as distinct from body and other such things and knows it as sentient and blissful by virtue of the power of making distinction is an introvert. So who is an introvert? An introvert is a soul who has got right knowledge, who can make distinction between a body and a soul. So he is an introvert. He has become introvert by virtue of realizing himself, self-realization. By achieving self-realization, he has become an introvert. That sentient being alone is an introvert. Accepting the soul alone as his own and no other material object or idea, he is regarded as an introvert. So introvert, or the soul who has realized himself, he believes his soul as his own and no other material object or thoughts or ideas, is an introvert. So the introvert is a realized soul and his eyes of wisdom has opened up and he can see things in the right perspective. So he believes soul to be a soul and body to be a body. They are both distinct objects, two distinct substances. One is with consciousness, chetna, and the other is non-conscious. He doesn't have chetna. He doesn't have knowledge. He doesn't have feeling of good or bad. The introvert are of again three kinds: high introvert, medium introvert, and low introvert. Right? So great realized soul, medium level of realized soul, and the low level of realized soul. So the introverts are of again three types. Devoid of all external and internal possession, passionless monks engage in the pursuit of self in the 12th stage of spiritual development are the high introverts. So those monks who are in the 12th stage of spiritual development are the high introverts. Beings having correct faith, right belief, but without any specific vows of conduct. So they have got the right belief, but as far as conducts are concerned, they have not taken any specific vows now, are in the 4th stage of spiritual development. Right? Today I sent you a chart of all the 14 stages of spiritual development and along with English names. So Hindi name is also there and English names are also there. So we studied about the high level of introvert and the low level of introvert. Midway between the monks and the householder of the 5th scale, having some vows are the medium introverts. So medium introverts are those who are from 5th stage of spiritual development to 5th and 6th stage, I suppose. Midway between the monks, that is the highest stage of introvert, and the householder, which is the 4th stage. So from 5th to 12th or 5th to 11th, yeah, these are the soul who are the medium introvert. What are the merits of being an introvert? What is the use of being an introvert? This very introvert, leaving the household, adopts monkhood. So this introvert soul leaves the household. He's a householder, and he leaves the household and adopts monkhood and become a monk in the jungle. With all inclinations towards the spiritual pursuit, trying to realize the self, attains godhood and accomplishes infinite perception, infinite consciousness, infinite bliss, and infinite strength. So this introvert renounces the household and becomes a monk, and with the help of realizing self or taking shelter in the self, he becomes a supreme soul. And when he becomes a supreme soul, he manifests infinite perception, infinite consciousness, infinite bliss, and infinite strength or power. So infinite knowledge, consciousness is knowledge, infinite perception is Ananta Darshan, and then infinite bliss is Anant Anand, and infinite strength or infinite power is Anant Virya. So when he becomes God, initially in the 13th stage of spiritual development, he destroys the 4 obscuring karmas, ghati karmas, namely Jnanavaran, Darshnavaran, Monia, and Antaray. So these 4 obscuring karmas are destroyed, and these 4 qualities is manifested. It means this introvert, by dint of personal effort, right, attains godhood. So one who was once an extrovert, he became an introvert, and from introvert, he becomes a supreme soul. So this is the whole journey of a soul from a quite ignorant stage to the Paramatma or God stage. What are the merits of godhood? What is the use of becoming a God? Every soul wants to be happy, bereft of all restlessness. God is infinitely happy. So there is no restlessness with the God. He is infinitely happy. And again, these gods are of 2 kinds. One is who is having a human body with himself, and the other one who is not having a human body. So gods having human form and gods without any form. So this God with human form is the Aryanta, and the gods without any form are the Sith Parmesti. Those Aryantas who have eliminated the 4 destructive karmas or obscuring karmas are gods with human form, and those that have no karmas left and no forms are the Siddhas or the completely liberated soul. So the Paramatma or the Supreme Soul is again of 2 kinds, one with the body in the Aryant stage and the other without any body or without any karmas, that is the liberated soul or the Siddh Paramestis. Extroverts are treading upon the worldly path, so they are still traveling in the worldly path, sansar mein hi hai, and therefore their position is undesirable altogether. So we should renounce those positions. That position is undesirable altogether. Hey. Introvert is on the path to liberation, and such his position is from some point of view desirable. So, अंतरात्मा प्रगट करने योग्य उपाधि है. It is desirable from the point of view that it is to be manifested. Then Godhood, Paramatma, being above sensual attachments, 5 इंद्रियों के विषयों से दूर है, being above sensual attachments and full of bliss, right? He is experiencing full eternal bliss. Without the existence of senses is all desirable. So, Paramatma प्रगट करने योग्य उपाधि है. So the extrovert becomes an introvert, and from introvert, he becomes God. This is the whole journey. Everybody should therefore willfully discard the state of an extrovert and becoming an introvert, attain the status of supreme Godhood. That means one should not feel satisfied by becoming an introvert, but he should aim in becoming a supreme soul. And once he becomes a supreme soul, there is nothing left over to be done. So this is the ultimate stage that we all want to become God. So this is how a mundane soul becomes a God, and each and every mundane soul become a God. So we can also become a God, and to become a God, we first need to be an introvert, and after becoming an introvert, traveling that journey from the 4th stage of spiritual development to the 12th stage of spiritual development. This is whole journey of the introvert, and then he becomes God. That is the 13th stage of spiritual development. That is the Aryanta. And then, of course, he becomes the liberated soul or the Sith Parmesti. So this is, they are just they are helping us to set up a aim for ourselves. So we should also aim for the best, that is the supreme soul. And we can become one if we follow their preachings and the path shown by them. So if we travel on the path shown by them, we will also achieve Godhood one day. So our time is also over, and next week we will begin with the chapter 3, the 7 elements or the 7 fundamentals. Yeah, it is called the 7 fundamentals. Very interesting chapter. because the characteristics of Samyak Darshan is the right belief of these 7 fundamentals. So we will understand these 7 fundamentals in detail. Do you have any questions for today? Okay, so we'll close for the day. निज निधि निज में बताई, यह अनंत उपकार है, उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना 7 बार है, उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना 7 बार है। 9 बार नौकार मंत्र गिनेंगे। जय जिनेन्द्र।